It's match day -2 the availability with Nashville. So you have Coach Callaghan ahead of the team's match Saturday at St. Louis. Coach, first MLS match in a couple of weeks due to the League's Cup break. If you could start just by talking a little bit about how training's going this week and what you expect to see from St. Louis Saturday night.
Yeah, I think we've approached the St. Louis game kind of with a break from San Diego through. Just kind of an opportunity, again, to reflect back on the month of July, take some learning lessons. I think really spend time reinforcing a lot of the things that we're about, get back to consistent training, I would say cycle without so many games, to really continue to refine our principles, how we want to go about things. And so it's been a really good, 10 days of being able to be just focused on ourselves. And even going through that Aston Villa match, it was much more about, being ourselves, knowing that we we're going to get challenged by a good opponent, but not so much in game planning or studying Aston Villa, but, looking ahead towards St. Louis and continuing our process of how we're going to prepare versus them.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start with Julian and go down the line, and feel free to ask 2 questions if you have them.
What did you like, I guess, about the fight that your team did show in that friendly?
Yeah, for us, I would link it also back to the San Diego game, is even when things might not be perfect and not being executed well, the foundation of this team is that there's I would say a competitive mentality and a winning mentality. And we're going to go till the final whistle, and we're going to push it all the way to the final whistle. When you saw the San Diego match, it was down to trying to go to the last corner kick. And even with Aston Villa, whatever it is, this 75th minute, we're going to get a goal that we're going to keep pushing, and that's a real good, for me, foundation of this team. If that kind of transcends everything that we do on good days and bad days, if we keep that winning mentality inside the group, I think it'll lead to great things for us.
Is consistency the biggest thing that you still want to see this last kind of home stretch of games for the regular season?
Yeah. For us, it's we're focused on reinforcing who we are and what we want to be, and getting into the best form possible, and getting as many players into the best form as possible, because we know what we don't control what's going to happen, but we control the way our inputs. What do we put into the work every day, and how prepared we can make every player know their roles and responsibilities, give it to them with clarity, deliver to them and teach it with efficiency. So for us, that's what it's all about. Starting 10 days ago ish, and all the way through the what I would say is the 10 games that we have left. Every other game that we have after the 10 is we have to go out and earn it. So that's our mentality.
Yeah, it's not super often that you get an extended break like this, like 2/3 through the season. I'm just curious, what are some of the areas that you were really kind of looking to refine and kind of hone in on for the last 10 games?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really about just like the simplicity of like the phases of play. So can we just become a little bit better in our positioning, a little bit more consistent through build up? Can we be better, more cohesive, collective in how we're building pressure and recognizing triggers and doing it? For us, that's always sort of our foundation, and so it's just about being a little bit simple in the teaching and being better at the basics.
And then I wanted to ask about Matt Corcoran. We just saw that he was loaned out. From Mike's statement in the press release, it sounded like it might be more of a shorter term loan. I'm just curious what the plan was for him, and if the U20 World Cup had kind of any impact on that.
Sure. Yeah. So for Matt, we want to try to find as much playing time as we can for young players. That's the starting point. It's been hard for us to get him playing time because we have a good strength, a good midfield. And so what Matt was able to do is really give us, I would say, support and help through the congested period of time. And now that we're in a little bit less congested period, we thought it was an opportunity to sort of get him into meaningful games with Rhode Island, to get him playing time, to continue to get experience, continue to his development. And then certainly, we are a club that wants to support club and country. We're passionate about that. We're not, and we don't hide behind that. And so we want to set our players up, I would say, for the greatest opportunity to be selected. And we thought, that was another factor. I wouldn't say it was the driving factor, but it's certainly in part of the equation of trying to, I would say, look after each individual player's development.
What do you see in the St. Louis team?
Yeah, so I think what you saw since the coaching change is a team that plays with great spirit, There's definitely a clear identity on how they want to go about it. And, it's interesting that they have a lot of different pieces that can hurt you, right? So they have deep lying midfielders that can get on the ball and play in behind you. They have, from crossing situations, they've got great box presence that they can score. They've got a goalkeeper that can keep them in games when needed with, so for us, and then they get to play in front of a really passionate home crowd that does well to support their team. And so, I think for us, it's an opponent that we have a great amount of respect for, that we continue to prepare through our process. But it's a team that I think has the ability to kind of, maybe exploit you in a couple different ways, which is always a dangerous team.
Was it good to see some of those guys got their, at Aston Villa had playing time? What'd you like about seeing them?
Yeah, it's critical. It's critical. It's not that this group makes my decisions weekly hard, because there's great competition and every guy is so committed and put it there. So to give some guys different opportunities was really good, and I thought the way that they performed was really good. And to give guys some extended minutes and get longer looks at them, I think it'll only pay dividends for us as we kind of go into the final 9 regular season games in the Open Cup that we have left.
Yeah, BJ, since we're talking to Joe after this, and I kind of wanted to ask about him and maybe a little bit about his performance this season. What have you seen from him, just being where he is in his career, in his mid-30s, having been with Nashville a while, but having to also kind of learn and adjust to a very new, pretty contrasting style of play in terms of just playing with the ball at his feet a little bit more and doing a lot more distribution than he has in years past. How has he been able to kind of pick that up?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great for Joe to go back home and play in front of the St. Louis crowd. We're looking forward to trying to get our first ever Nashville win at that stadium. For Joe, the first primary job of the goalkeeper is to keep the ball out of the net. That's why Joe's had such a long and illustrious career, because he does a great job of keeping the ball out of the net. And then all of the credit beyond that goes to Joe. You're right. As a guy who's a well-established veteran and has ways of doing things, like his open-mindedness and willing to develop, you can still continue to develop in your career and adapt. And I thought he's done a really good job of taking that on, taking in the coaching and being brave to do it. It's not easy to do it in front of a lot of people. But he's embraced it, and for me, I think has done a really good job, and been really, I would say, adaptable, in what we're trying to do.
Next week, Red Bulls and Philadelphia are playing in the U.S. Open quarterfinals, and they'll be, your next opponent in the semifinals. Is that a game you're going to be watching pretty closely?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've said it from the first day. We take the Open Cup seriously. I don't think getting to the semifinal is proof that that's what we're talking about. And yeah, I mean, there are two teams that we obviously watch a lot already, but of course that'll be a game that we have our eye on, and then we'll start to layer in that preparation as we probably get closer to the match date and where we know where we're actually playing and those type of things.
Talking about Red Bull and Philly just now, these are teams you know very well. You've seen them so many times. What's the difference in preparation between that and somebody like St. Louis, where this is the first time for you personally to play against them?
Yes, that's actually a really good question, because we talk about that all the time. St. Louis is a team that, being in the West, you probably aren't watching as much. So we're thankful that we've had 10 days to kind of dive deeper. I would say a lot of it, the beginning process, when we're looking at it through the phases of play, that process remains the same, but we probably have to do, and we did, a much deeper dive on individual players. I think as you kind of watch teams more, you learn tendencies of players. With St. Louis, I think we've had the opportunity to go a little bit deeper and kind of give a few more, give each individual player on our team a few more insights into who their direct matchups will be, versus if you play Philly for a third time, they know that there's not, each guy knows each guy enough. So yeah, just a little bit extra, and thankfully we've had that time to be fully prepared.
And then I just wanted to ask, we saw Tyler Boyd out on the pitch and training, not only where he is on his kind of recovery journey, but also what sort of role do you see for him for the rest of the season?
Yeah, so I think Tyler won't be available for this weekend. But I fear to use the word day to day, but he's close. And the role that I think he's going to play is, I think, one that sets him up for his greatest individual strengths. That's a job of our coaching staff. That's something that we're focused on here, is utilizing him there. I think for us, it's a player that can play between the lines, a player that can run at defenses. Typically, we know that he likes to come off one of the sides, to get on the ball and run. And then he's got a knack for finding space in the penalty box. So, I think that's kind of that final connection, is getting him connected with the other guys to, hey, where do you like the ball? What spots do you like to score from? But for me, it's a welcomed player that we are expecting back soon, that can, only add to the competition piece and bolster our team as we kind of go through this final phase.
All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks, guys. We'll be right back with Joe.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chet.